Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Golden Ratio podcast. I am Jen, Jer Mom, joined as always by Jer Dad.
Hi.
How you doing, Jer Dad?
Pretty
good. Times are tough in the Golden Ratio household. Just trying times.
There's a feedback loop between us and the dogs. There's tenseness among the members of us all. It kind of affects everybody.
So let me get to the cocktail of the week before we jump into the dog update.
Just a little preview.
Okay, so last week we were talking about the cocktail you made for yourself in Florida, which was like a gin and tonic with a bunch of lime cordial in it. And
yes.
I was like, that's different. You could name that. And you called it the Ingo's Mistake, which I thought was really funny. But then I remembered after you said that there is a cocktail called the Negroni Sbagliato, which is Italian for the Negroni Mistake.
Yeah.
So a normal Negroni is gin, Campari, and sweet vermouth.
Mm-hmm.
The Negroni Sbagliato is champagne, Campari, and sweet vermouth. So it's like, oops, put champagne instead of the gin. It's quite a fortuitous mistake.
Yeah, I'm rolling my eyes.
So
it's all fancy like.
They're just thinking there is actually a cocktail called the Mistake, basically. Sbagliato. One of the few things I remember from college Italian is if you call someone and you have the wrong number, you say sbagliato numero, the wrong number.
Oh.
But it's spelled with that GL that Americans don't say right, like in consigliere, but Americans say consigliere. The GL is kind of like a Y, consigliere, sbagliato, SB.
There's a G in sbagliato.
There's a G, yeah.
Oh, it's silent.
It's a slightly different sound, but anyway. So that's going to be the cocktail of the week.
I can still trademark my name.
It's the Ingo's Mistake, yes. And then the Negroni Sbagliato.
Someone might have already, quote-unquote, invented that drink before, though.
I don't know that it's good enough to have been invented.
Oh, the dagger.
All right, let's talk some dog updates. Let me just...
Wait, did you talk about the cocktail of the week this week?
That's
or
it.
Did you...
The Negroni Sbagliato is the cocktail of the week.
Oh.
Yeah.
That wasn't clear. I thought you were just...
I said it. You just missed it.
We'll rewind the tape later. If I'm confused, there might be one or two other people who are confused.
That's certainly true.
One or two, though.
Okay, so let us begin with a bitch session about how things are right now.
We can do this because the dogs don't speak English.
And we love them.
And we do.
Okay, so Remoulade, new dog, Remy. He's a good boy. He is not fixed.
Yeah.
And a thing that happens, so one, dogs get nervous, especially rescue dogs. They come in, they're freaked out, they hump things. We had one dog who would hump one of our dog beds just aggressively and sort of nonstop.
Embarrassingly.
Like not just like, oh, funny.
Obsessive.
Like, yeah, it was really bad. We had to put the dog bed in the car. Because and then he stopped
because we had it in the basement, but he found it in the basement.
It was really and this happens. They get some like weird kind of mental fixation, and sometimes it's not quite that severe.
Yeah,
like he couldn't do anything except hump that bed.
He could have he could have licked the lamp obsessively or something weird that is.
It's usually humping though. It's usually humping. Oh. They get this repetitive humping on a thing, but sometimes. Especially intact males, when they are nervous, like when they come into rescue, will just hump stuff not quite as aggressive, not with quite as much focus. And Remy has sort of reached that stage. So the second day he was here, he was trying to hump Brody a lot. And Brody's just super anxious anyway. Like he's got some pretty serious anxiety problems. And so the good thing is Remy cannot manage to mount Brody. He just kind of stands next to him, but he's way up in his business. He's putting his head on Brody's back and kind of pushing and following him around, like on top of him all the time.
Yeah.
And so then I'll try to correct Remy and Brody freaks out. And I'll be like, Remy, come over here. And Brody's like, I'm going to go stand right where you're going. And I was like, you jerk, the point is to get the two of you apart.
I mean, that's the problem. If you say no to one dog, there's at least 3 other dogs who get stricken.
Mm-hmm. And so... And then Remy has started humping the cushions on the couch on occasion. And so we've started him on some anti-anxiety medicine, but I'm also having to crate him because there's just like like Brody just keeps getting more anxious, but he won't just correct him. He won't just like growl at him, which is what he should do.
Would likely fix it, yeah.
I mean, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to let Remy do his thing, and eventually Brody will snap at him, and Brody hasn't. Brody just looks at me like, things are very stressful, Jen.
I'm suffering.
And just be like, just tell him no. Like, he'll listen to you, like, won't listen to me. So, like, Remy, we have a big giant crate. Remy is in the crate now. It does not trouble him to be in the crate. It helps him settle down. But I don't like I would like them all to just lay around and relax, which he will a couple weeks after he's fixed. We got another month of this bullshit. And I was emailing the rescue group, and there's always a team for it's always the same team for every dog that comes in.
It's always the same team.
It's 5 people. It's not like, each dog gets its own little team. There's 5 people. There's like the medical coordinator, the adoption coordinator, the intake person. So there's the team. And I was like, man, you guys, like, I can't wait to get him fixed. Like, normally I would do it the day we got him, but we have to wait till he finishes his antibiotics for the Lyme. And I was like, I can't wait till I can get this dog fixed because, like, you know, he's just making everything so stressful. He's trying to hump the other dog. And I said, toxic masculinity ruins the party again. So that is the situation with him. And then Brody is super on edge. And so today I was like, let me put Brody in a different room. So because Remy's not trying to hump anybody else. Yeah. If he tried to hump Guac would absolutely give him the business. But he hasn't shown any interest in humping anybody else. So I put Brody in my office, which has a little like baby gate on it. And Brody's like, I don't want to be in here. And he starts barking. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to let him have a little extinction burst. Like, let him freak out for a minute and then he will calm down. And instead what he did.
He did get quieter.
I'm like, what's he doing? I thought he was scratching at the bars of the gate. And I go look and he's got his head turned sideways and he's chewing on the bars of the baby gate. Chewing on the bars. I was like, no, what are you doing?
Like in those old westerns where they take a file and they file at those iron bars.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay.
Broads. He's like, what? What?
Otherwise, before we move on to foods, so Remy, very sweet boy.
He's a sweet boy. He loves getting pets and scratches.
Yeah. We did a blood glucose curve on him today, which is where you take their blood sugar levels every 12 hours. Like you start right before breakfast and then you follow it through right before dinner. So you kind of see what it is before they eat and then how it changes over the course of the day after they eat. So he's not terrible. I mean, it's still a little high. It was like between like 350 and 550. You kind of want it under 300. Though Chegs, we didn't really get much under 300, and he still, like the other markers, showed up as well controlled. So this is a very good sign. So we're going to up his insulin a tiny bit at the end of this week, and then hopefully he'll be right in the middle of where he needs to be for when we go see the eye surgery people in a few weeks.
Yeah, he wasn't on insulin before a couple weeks ago, so this is all still subject to adjustment.
Yeah. They just, like, for any insulin, you put in the dog's weight, and then there's, like, a recommended dose, and that's what you start them on, and that's why you do this glucose curve. So he needs a little bit more to manage it, and so you figure out the right amount. So that's good. But insulin... we have a lot of diabetic followers who understand the struggles. So insulin, there's different brands of insulin, and they come in different size bottles, and there are U40 and U100, which is a size of syringe. And it says on the bottles for some reason, like use with a U40 syringe or use with a U100 syringe. They're different sizes. The U100 is, I guess the U40 is 2.5 times bigger.
It has different units.
There's different units. Right? So if you get if you get like 2 units in a U40, then you need 2.5 times as many. So 5 units in a U100 syringe. And so you don't mix syringes. If you get a bottle that has dosage for U40, you use a U40 syringe. And so they sent us insulin, but only like a dozen U40 syringes, which last 6 days. We had a ton of U100 syringes from Chegs. And I was like, we're going to run out of U40 syringes. And so and then I was like, maybe I can fit the U40 amount in the U100. And they had sent some U100 syringes, but they were too small. But fortunately, we found some bigger U100 syringes that we have, so we could convert his U40 dose to a U100 dose and not run out of syringes, because syringes, you can just buy insulin at CVS without a prescription. But the syringes you need a prescription for, and no one will give us prescription syringes unless we get the dog in, which we can't do with anybody for 3 weeks. So we were just going to be friggin' out of syringes. And then I managed to talk to the vet tech who took him in, after the owners gave him up, who had him for like the week before we got him. She works at the clinic that took him in. And she's lovely. And I was like, could you email me a prescription for the syringes? And she's like, sure. So she emails it. Chewy has syringes. Lots of places have syringes, but you have to mail them the original prescription. So I could not use the emailed version. And that's not going to help me when I have like 8 syringes left. I was very stressed. This was like one night this week. I think Voodoo woke me up at 1:30. And I was up until 5:30. And one of the things that I did in the middle of the night when my brain would not let me go back to sleep was figure out that we did in fact have some 1/2 cc U100 syringes that would fit his dosage from the U40s.
Which solves the problem partially, but it's math, and it just seems inefficient, and it's weird to me that this isn't standardized.
What a pain in the ass.
It's the same drug, and you got this 2 different rail systems that don't really interact. It's just weird.
Yeah. So he's doing okay, and we've got like T-minus 18 days until we get him fixed. And that's going to be better.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a couple of weeks after they get fixed for the testosterone to get out of their systems and for them to stop being assholes, but we're on the path. Okay, so that's Remy. He's humping aside, very sweet, affectionate boy. Loves to have his belly rubbed, loves to get his head scratched.
He's pretty clingy in a good way, very kind of Velcro-y.
Yeah, he's a good boy. Brody's having a lot of anxiety, which obviously is heightened by the routine being disrupted, but it's frustrating that we can't make him feel better because he's on a lot of medicine to help with it.
Yeah.
And, there's only so much you can medicate. So he's having a tough time.
He might be better in Florida.
Guac is doing great. Good job, Guac.
Guac is a rock. If we put Guac together with his avocado, and he is just a quiet, gentle soul.
Like, he could have been an asshole this week with Voodoo, like trying to play with him or stomping on him, and he has not been. He's been great.
That's right. He misses Voodoo and playing rough with Voodoo. You can kind of tell that Guac wants to sometimes do it, but he's controls himself, and he's very kind of sensitive to the situation.
Yep. Hops is doing good. Her leg is, pretty much healed up the first coming back in. No problems. Mm-hmm. Vink has had kind of an outbreak on her tongue, which you've seen. We talked about it on the last podcast, and I was like, no, it's worse than you thought. Does not seem like it's going to turn into a full-fledged thing like it does sometimes where she breaks out everywhere, but we're keeping an eye on it. And then Votes. All right, so Votes is back. He's actually been pretty good.
He's been quite stoic about the whole thing. I'm surprised pleasantly.
Not trying to lick it.
Yep.
Thank God, man, because I got a little sleeve for it, and the sleeve has managed to slide itself down lower than the incision, but he hasn't tried to lick it at all.
He's been really good about not licking it, yeah.
And we got a week. We're halfway through the time of the staples. Like, we don't have to make it a lot farther, so it looks like it's going to be okay.
And it's a broken leg, right? It's broken to be repaired. They broke it.
Yes.
And he's like being careful walking on it, but he's able to go like out in the yard and do his business. I mean, I'm surprised at how well he's handling it instead of just kind of like curling up in a ball.
Yeah, he's doing good. He doesn't seem like he's in a lot of pain. We've been giving him codeine on schedule, which I think helps, and it keeps him calm. But there's no times where I'm like, ooh, he really looks like he's uncomfortable. The main thing is, so we have had him in my office, which is the little side room here with the baby gate.
Yeah.
He does not like being in there. He was okay for the first couple of days, and now he's like, no.
It's boring in here, guys.
So what he really wants to do is be outside all the time.
Yeah.
But we can't let him be outside without supervision. He's not allowed to do stairs. He's not allowed to walk on the ramp. He can't run.
Yeah.
He has to be really careful. So it's tempting to be like, just let him lay in the yard, because most of the time he just lays there, and then you look out and like, what the hell is he doing? I don't know.
He's climbing a tree or something.
I mean, today,
crazy.
like, I was in my office on a call. The dogs were sleeping in the living room. Dad went upstairs. We're not allowed to leave Voodoo unsupervised, but we both were like, he's sleeping in the living room. I come out of my office and he's on the couch. Like, literally on the list is, do not let the dog get on the furniture. I don't know how he got up there with one working back leg, but he was up there. And then I was on the next call and I moved my computer out into the living room and Voodoo's trying to get off the couch. And I was like, hang on, person I'm on the call with. My dog's trying to get off the couch.
Boy, Voodoo, you're trying to maintain three-legged status, man.
Yeah. It's hard for him to get up. He can get up by himself. The Help Him Up harness that we have, we've talked about this before. So the brand is Help Him Up, HELPEMUP. Their website is like helphimup.com. There's a lot of harnesses, like on Amazon. You'll find not this brand. You'll find other ones. I have tried them. They do not work, but this one is like amazing. That it is. Just the other ones are kind of worthless pieces of crap, and this thing is like a miracle of engineering.
Yeah.
So if you have a dog that like you need to help up, or like you need to lift into the car and stuff, like I can't like squat down and pick up Voodoo and put him in the car, right? Because he weighs 95 and I'm just not strong enough to lift him with my upper body like that. With this thing, like he's got two handles on the back, like one between the shoulder blades and one at the butt, and I can literally like straight lift him up and put him in things. So if you have a dog that you need to do that, like they are sort of expensive and a million times worth it to get that. So he's in that most of the time now, so we can help him stand up if he wants to do stuff, so which he can sort of do by himself, but we don't want him putting that weight on there.
Yeah, I mean, the things I never would have thought about that work on this one are, he can poop and pee with no problem. You can pick up just his butt, or you can pick up just the front, whatever you need. Or you can use both handles and just pick him up completely, which if you have a stubborn
asshole dog
stinker like him, and we can't, there's a limit to how much we can bribe him because he'll balloon up. I can just kind of pick him up by both handles like he's a suitcase and carry him a few feet, and then he realizes, well, all right, I better put my feet down.
Yeah, it has a full kind of harness across the chest and then a wide strap that goes kind of across the belly, but like below his junk, so he pees in front of that strap. There is, for dogs with, I think, abnormally short penises, or it's not even the length, it's how far back it's set.
Yeah, it's the length of the body, I guess, right?
Well, no, it's like, is the penis back between the legs really far? when they were asking me, like the rescue group we have a couple of these harnesses from them, and they're like, does he need there's a different shape for dogs with penises that are like set far back or something? And I was like, I'm in here looking at his junk, and it's like there's a guideline on the website, like, is the tip of the penis ahead of the front of the thigh? And I was like, I can't believe how much time I spent studying his business.
And he's like, don't shame me, Jen.
Anyway,
it's fine down there. The
vast majority of dogs need the regular one.
Stop
which
looking
he
at
does.
me down there.
But it kind of goes across, and so they're very well supported if you just pick him up. And I kind of use it when he's walking just to put a little upward pressure on his back leg. So I'm not carrying them, but I'm making it a little lighter for him back there. Yeah. It's so good. It's so good.
It works really well, and he can, I mean, I feel like he's comfortable enough in it that he can lie in it, and he's not, suffering or constricted or pinching or anything like that. It just works.
It's engineered for that. So like it's got the little like click together things like on a dog collar. Every single one of them is padded, so there's no clicky thing going against their skin. The bigger ones have like more padding around them, and it's set up so you can put it on them when they're laying down. So there's the handle that goes across the back, like the shoulder blades, and then there's one that goes across the butt. Those two click together, so you can keep them in one unit or you can take them apart. And then the parts that go underneath disconnect from the top part, so you can basically just kind of slide your hand under the dog, slide the thing through, and then click it in. So I put it on him when he's like laying down in any position all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a logic puzzle to put it on him, but it all makes sense, and I could work it out, which is not guaranteed, but it shows that it's all logical and set up sensibly.
It is a real lifesaver. So
Yeah, it's kind of like a parachute harness or something, but it works really well. Yeah.
It's great. So yeah, he's doing pretty good. He when we brought him home, he was mostly tripoding, and he'd kind of toe touch, right? Like the bad leg, he'd touch it down on the ground, but he wouldn't put any weight on it. And he's putting a little bit of weight on it today.
More than I'd like, but he can regulate that, right? I mean, he's deciding if it hurts too much, he won't. Or he's got, as you pointed out, he's got 3 legs, not like me, 1 or 2.
Right. He's good. So, yeah, the process is at this point, so we're doing passive range of motion, which is basically like you just bend their ankles and their knees and their hips just to keep the muscles moving, or you can move the whole leg like they're riding a bicycle kind of shape, like the full range, or like they're running, I guess, the full range of motion. And then we were icing it for the first couple days. Now we do warm compresses that kind of keep the swelling down, which works pretty well. And that's all we do for the first couple weeks. And then starting after 2 weeks, then we start doing some mild kind of physical therapy stuff to just strengthen, get them learning to put weight back on it. And then he can start going for walks 5 minutes a day, 5-minute walks twice a day.
This is like when we first got him, yeah.
Just kind of inch it up. But he loves, yesterday he was like, I was walking all the other dogs, and he's like, please, every time I'd leash a dog up, he'd start wagging his tail. He loves walks.
He thinks it's so exciting, yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to take him. And he goes like, no, don't take him. And I was like, I have to. So I click his collar on, and we walked across the street, and he deeply sniffed in all of the neighbors' ornamental grasses in his front yard. And then we came back, and he was just thrilled. I mean, it's less distance than when he walks into the backyard.
Yeah, that's true. He can go further in the backyard.
But he's like, I went for a walk, you guys. And he just walked across the street, sniffed 3 plants.
He's very proud of himself.
For 5 minutes and walked home. So, yeah, he's being a really good spirit about it. Now, he barks like a jerk anytime he wants something, including in the middle of the night.
He is a bad patient. If we give him one of those little bells, he'd be ringing it all the time to summon us.
And then all he wants to do is go outside. So we're like, okay, it's 1 a.m. Voodoo's barking to wake us up. One of us goes and lets him outside, and he's like, I'm going to sleep out here. He just lays down.
Lie down. And that's when we sometimes have had him out of the harness at night because we think, is he more comfortable? And then it's well, then you got to bribe him in, frankly. And we're not, dragging him in.
No.
You got to get
Boots
foods, and that'll get his attention. But
and he'll come for it.
Still, the lesson is keep the harness on him, and then you can just pick him up.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to take it off when he's sleeping, because if you leave it on full time all the time,
sure.
It can rub on him. But and the good thing is he'll come for those chicken snacks. He gets up and comes for him. But there's a lot of all right, Voods, you've been laying out here, come inside. And he's like, yeah.
Or he tries to snag the snack and then go back down.
Yes,
lay back down. He's like, I'm not quite inside now. Not ready.
Anyway.
No.
The nice thing is he was just in the office for a few days, and now we put him in there at night so he doesn't try to climb the stairs or get on the couch, but for the rest of the time he's out in the rest of the house with everybody else.
And we were worried that someone would step on his knee, frankly, or in his broken leg, and so far everyone seems to be pretty mellow about it, and he hasn't been in the thick of anything. It turns out he is a cause of much of this the chaos.
Yes.
And when he's not allowed to participate, the chaos is limited.
Indeed.
Although Guac and Venk were going at it today again. Venk is sort of the annoying little sister, and is like, hey, I guess she's the big sister. She's the older sister, but she's littler.
Yeah, we do. That's the thing.
Him.
We need to put them outside when they do that, because they will accidentally bump into Vood. So.
Oh yeah, Venk will get the zoomies and fly around the room.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where each individual dog is okay, but the combination of them is everything requires more maintenance and supervision and handling than it does. I was working on this work project today that's sort of urgent and a lot of work, one of these things where I just need to work for 10 hours straight on it. And so I'm because someday my butt won't hurt, but today's not that day, I'm scrunched all down on the couch so I'm not hurting my butt, and super slouchy, real squished in there trying to write this thing. And then somebody needs a thing. Somebody barks. or somebody jumps, or
Someone's
somebody's
trying to
panting.
chew his way out of the
Somebody's
baby
doing
gate.
anything. And I was thinking, I'm like, like you think about people who have one dog, and you think about like how much does that dog disrupt you when you're working? Like sometimes you go a couple hours and they don't, and then sometimes like once or twice an hour they'll bug you. And then you just multiply that by 6, and it means like every 5 or 10 minutes a dog is interrupting you. And like occasionally you get a half-hour stretch, but usually it's like every 10 minutes you have to get up, interrupt what you're doing, and get up and do a dog thing. So it can be quite disruptive.
This is the thing in the middle of the night. If they all 6 went at once, it could take 5 minutes, but they all go in succession, so it takes like half an hour.
You know what? When we had Maggie and Jasmine and Riley and Hopper and Vink and Queso,
Yeah.
they all fucking went out together. It'd be like, okay, everybody, time to pee before bed. And all 6 dogs would go outside and do their business and come in, and then they'd all go to bed. We are, with all these dogs we have now, we're just chasing the original squad, which was perfect.
But all of them, like Vink and Hops, have bad habits now too. Where Vink's like, I'm going to sleep through the first 3 or 4 dogs going out, and then I'm going to be like, oh, I need to go outside now. Can anyone let me out? I'm like, Vink, come on. And then Hops goes, and then we're lying in bed, and Hops goes, I'm kind of hungry. Can I eat some more dinner?
Ugh, it's just a little much right now.
It's a lot. Yeah.
I mean,
it'll all get better.
No, that's right. New foster dog and Voodoo surgery, literally the same day, was too much. And you know what? It's going to be fine. Like, Remy in a month will be fully regulated on insulin. He will be fully rid of the goddamn testosterone that's making him an asshole. And probably in 2 months, he'll have his vision back. And he's going to be like mostly a normal dog who just needs shots. And at that point, Voods is going to be all better too. I mean, his fragility is going to drop way down in a week where he doesn't have the staples and he can walk a little bit more. You know, like he still has to be careful. He can't run or play. But it's not going to be like, ooh, like don't let anything come near him. So it's going to be fine. It's just a few more weeks.
We were bored. We needed another dog. It was always, it's so. I mean, we could predict all of this. We kind of know it, but we choose not to act on it, and we choose to accept it in advance, and then we can still complain about it. But
yeah, it's okay to
overall,
complain about it sometimes.
It's going to be fine. It's just, it is a lot. It's a lot.
Yep. All right.
And we'll probably do it again.
Well, now we're pretty filled up.
Yeah.
We can't. I know we've had 7 before, but that was very hard.
Yeah, that with the couple that didn't walk real well, and there was a blind one in there.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we were to go up to 7, that would have to be. It would not be a great going like we have a special medical case for you. It would be like we have a former seeing eye dog, whose owner sadly passed away, and the dog is retiring. And would you please take this perfectly trained dog who does their business on command and
could be an example for all your other knuckleheads.
And I'd be like, sure, we'll take 2. And here, you can have Vink.
I'm looking at each one of you knuckleheads.
So yeah, that's all good. GR Dog Sitter will be back this week, back tomorrow. Did we talk about this? I think we did. That we had planned this vacation.
I don't know if we were in such detail.
I think we did.
It's embarrassing.
And we're flying down to the Keys to go on vacation by our house and then flying back. So GR Dog Sitter will be here, but Remy's going someplace else to get individual caretaking. So she'll have just Voods to deal with.
Yes, a lot of Voods.
Yeah, but he's actually pretty low maintenance other than like wanting to go outside all the time. Like
and being dead weight.
Yeah, well, the good thing is we're leaving her plenty of Voods foods to
get
her
that's
to
true.
move around with.
No limits for when it's necessary.
All right, so Giordad, I'm looking at my list of topics here, and one of them is Death Nut.
Yeah, I don't want to do Death Nut now.
All right, I'll just add...
We're flying tomorrow morning. The last thing I want to do is have Death Nut in my stomach. But you can introduce the topic because it's a good tease for the next podcast.
Our friend the Carruthers sent us a Death Nut. Actually, the 2-player version of the Death Nut.
2-player version of a Death Nut.
It's like the death chip that we got. It's
It's funny.
super the world's hottest pepper powder on a nut.
I know, but death nut sounds
Death
awesome.
nut is so good. So
it's actually
anyway.
6 nuts. They're increasing heat.
I have proposed that we just start with death nut number worst. Just let's skip the stupid intermediate ones and just do the bad ones.
We're never going to eat the other ones then. I mean,
Fine.
we paid for them.
I mean, all right, how about this? Let's together each have one super mega death nut, and then you can have all the rest of the nuts by yourself. I'll mix them in. Oh, here's what I'll do. I'm going to buy a can of Planters mixed nuts, and I'll put the other 10 nuts in it for a surprise. So you'll be like, ooh, honey roasted peanut. A cashew. Oh, death nut number 5. How about that?
No. I mean, the whole thing.
Death nut.
I'm not looking forward to the experience. I mean, it's a dare, and so I'm going to do it, and it's eating weird stuff, which I'm fine.
Be great.
I'm fine with. But it's a very ominous box, and it has some flames on it, and, like, doom-looking things.
Death nut.
In the name, yeah.
All right. Well, look forward. Maybe if we do a No Rules podcast this weekend, which is tentatively the plan, maybe we'll do Death Nut then. That'd be good No Rules podcast.
If, but again, sitting on a plane tomorrow morning, I might really regret this.
Okay.
So
I'm
gonna.
We have all kinds of topics for a No Rules podcast.
Yeah.
Landscaping.
We'll have to do video of the Death Nut too to make
No,
sure.
no, we don't have to do that.
If I pass out, that you'll have videotaped it.
Okay, so that's it for dog updates.
Yeah.
Ingo has printed out. He's brought a printout to the table.
Oh my God! Don't tell all my secrets.
What are you doing? You don't need what? Oh, your glasses. You do need
Oh yeah.
I could read it for you. All right, what is this? Taste of the Keys? I don't know what this printout is. He just showed up with a stapled together set of papers.
It's Taste of the Keys.
Okay, go for it.
It's 2 stories that caught my eye. One said, "Man in stolen Jeep out of Key West arrested," and what do I drive? A Jeep, and we're here and not in the Keys where my Jeep is. So I thought,
Jeep is here though.
Well, now it is, but it wasn't at the time.
No, that's true.
This is an older story.
It is from like a week ago. Sorry, geez.
A 40-year-old man was arrested Saturday after he stole a Jeep in Key West. I'm still worried about it.
Sad.
Yeah, he's charged with resisting arrest, which is kind of a one-size-fits-all. Nobody's too jazzed about being arrested. The incident began at 9:34 a.m. when Key West police issued a "Be on the lookout" alert.
Bolo.
It's a bolo for a stolen orange Jeep, and then I was more relieved because mine's red. Well, they could still get it wrong. Key West police advised the Jeep was left running unattended when the suspect, later identified as the suspect, drove away northbound in it on US 1. So someone left it running at 9:30 in the morning, and this guy jumped in it and drove away.
I just want to note that I leave my car running all the time, but the Jeeps don't work if the key fob is out of the car, so I always take the key fob with me.
This might have been one where you just leave the key in the car, right? The old-fashioned one. No, we can lock ourselves out of the car, lock the car when the car is running, which is handy when it's full of dogs, which is why we do it, right?
Yeah.
The Jeep was outfitted with a GPS that allowed the owner to relay its location to law enforcement, which worries me. Mine probably has that too. I don't like that.
Okay.
And not that I'll steal my own, you know what I mean.
Yep.
Anyway, Deputy Tom Fricke successfully spiked the Jeep near mile marker 23. So he got
the spikes.
23 miles and then got spiked.
Wow, yeah.
That's Big Pine-ish, right?
No,
I guess we know.
It's like Cujo.
The vehicle got spiked and then turned into the old shrimp farm property on Summerland Key. There's no address. It's just, the old shrimp farm property.
You know where that is.
I have a vague notion. Where the Jeep was found unattended and still running. I guess this thing just doesn't turn off. Maybe it was broken.
I mean, if you're jumping out of a Jeep, why bother turning it off?
Well, and if you got into it when it was running, why would you turn it off? Yeah, that seems fine. A U.S. Border Patrol canine unit arrived to assist. This is interesting.
Dogs.
The suspect was found in the water nearby by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission.
It's so key.
Suspect was taken to jail. So he tried to escape by road. That's a mistake.
Mm-hmm. One road.
And then he turned off the main road.
Shrimp farm.
Didn't realize the land ended. Tried to run away. There's no, forest to run into. It's just mangroves and you can't get through them, so he jumps in the water.
Yep. They'll get you in there too, because how far can you swim?
And it sounds like they found him by boat. Like the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission found him. I mean, it's got a lot of things in it.
Yeah, it's
the
a
dog,
good one.
I like the dog.
Yeah. He was taken to jail.
He was taken to jail. He was also taken to jail, yeah. But they didn't give the dog's name, but it's a Border Patrol canine, so it's not, what's her name?
Coral.
Coral.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, did you say you have 2?
Yeah, it's 2.
Okay.
The other one is also kind of Keyesian, but very violent.
Oh.
Well, sort of. Couple arrested after attacking 2 deputies.
Whoa.
Here's a dumb idea. Dumb humans.
That's not going to work out for you.
A Homestead, Florida couple was arrested Saturday after attacking 2 deputies at an Islamorada restaurant.
Just to be clear, Homestead is not in the Keys. It's
No.
before the Keys.
And
Close to-
Islamorada is much closer to Miami than we live.
It's the Upper Keys.
And then this is the writing in these police reports. The melee began when Detective Molina and Deputy Szymanski went to break up a 1 a.m. fight.
$5 on fracas being used.
Maybe. It usually follows melee. At the Hog Heaven Sports Bar and Grill, which
Yep.
is right on
I know
Route
where
1.
that is,
So
yeah.
1 a.m., melee in a bar, that's bad. One of the men involved in the fight, suspect 1, grabbed Detective Molina from behind and placed him in a chokehold.
Oh, you're going to jail.
Suspect number 1 then began striking Detective Molina in the face.
What?
I know, right? Like, what the heck? Detective Molina took the suspect to the ground. Detective Molina and Deputy Szymanski were placing suspect in handcuffs when suspect 2, Rebecca Leach, kicked Deputy Szymanski in the head
Oh, no.
and kicked Detective Molina in the hand,
I can just see her, like, drunkenly running up from behind.
kicking at the police officers and, like, just flailing. They just placed her into custody. Detective Molina suffered bruises to his face.
Oh.
They were both taken to jail. Yeah. So that was
Kicked in the face.
like, what makes
It's not
you
going to work out for you
put a
guys.
detective? And I mean, there's no reason to believe they weren't uniformed in a chokehold.
Yeah.
Bad idea. Bad idea.
Look, I mean, the cops can do assholey things. I'm not saying that these cops were. It seems like they were just breaking up a fight. But the cops can
Sure.
and often do assholey things. It's still not going to work out for you if you put one in a chokehold.
No, and this is like he grabbed the cop from behind, so it doesn't sound like it was a confrontation face to face, right?
Yeah.
He just was. He must have been drunk off his mind, but God, guys.
Yeah. At least it's not that guy that we did on Murders in Paradise who got in a fight and then just randomly shot his gun into the street, into Duval Street. He was like down an alley, and he and his girlfriend were fighting, and some bystander stepped in to break it up. And then the girlfriend started beating up the bystander, and 2, the guy just randomly started, he was very drunk, started firing his gun into the street.
Into windows and
But on Duval
bullets just
Street on
spraying,
a weekend night, it's a miracle that nobody died.
That's right. I mean, the good news is that there were no firearms involved in this,
Yeah.
and everyone is walked away.
Yep.
You know, they'll go to jail, probably, maybe, but that's fine.
Yeah, I would think yes.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to go down and taste the Keys a little bit, and then we're actually driving back down to the Keys with the whole squad next weekend. So we've only got a couple days of Maryland really left.
Yeah, I can do a German word if you want.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember if we had one
We
talked about.
What was the one that we talked about?
I can't remember. My memory is a sieve these
I
days.
should have written it down. I was like, I
I'm
got to write down that German word.
Trying really hard to maintain the conversion rate of insulin from 40 to 100 and what pills who gets what day. So, yeah.
Well, you want to pick a different one?
Yeah, just speaking of the Euro 2021 soccer tournament that's being played.
No, it's done.
Yes, the German word for overtime. Well, it's not really the overtime, is it? It's the time that they play after 90 minutes.
this is the stupidest thing about soccer. They don't stop the clock, and then it's like randomly, like, oh, okay, all the time is up. Well, randomly, let's add some other minutes. And then those minutes are done, and then they keep playing. We were watching the England-Italy game, and it's like 90 minutes are done. And then they had 6 minutes, and then the 6 minutes are done, and then they were continuing playing.
It's such a
I don't understand it.
It's such a cultural difference
Oh,
to
it makes me very upset.
American sports, right? The rest of the world accepts this, right?
Every other sport accepts this.
I don't know. Cricket doesn't have a clock.
I mean, baseball doesn't have a clock either, but there's a different end
I
point.
bet you Aussie Rules has a running clock, too. They don't stop it when it goes out of bounds.
You do your word, and I'm going to look it up. I'm betting you it 100% is not like extra fucking time.
Well, that may be true, but the key to soccer has always been, this is how I learned it in Germany, is that only the ref controls the time. You don't. Nobody else really knows when the game will end and does end. Which is brilliant.
I just want to say this is different than a running clock. Like, I also think the running clock is dumb. So some dude acts like he got shot because somebody ran past him and caused a slight breeze, and he flails around and they don't stop the clock for that. I think that's dumb. But I would be fine with it if they're like, and at 90 minutes we blow the whistle and everybody stops.
Because that allows the flailing guy to,
that's
take
why
advantage.
You should stop the clock.
No, that's why you add time at the end.
But you're not timing how long the dude is flailing.
The ref has a sense.
It's bullshit.
The ref knows. No. They didn't used to say either how many minutes they were going to add on. It was just completely secret. Like, they would just go.
Dumb.
Now, at least after 90 minutes, they say, we're adding on 4 minutes.
This is why Europe is failing.
And
I don't actually know, is this European? It could be something else.
It's
they
worldwide.
do this everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, it's
dumb.
FIFA, at least FIFA.
Dumb.
Anyway, it's called Nachspielzeit. It's after play time. After the time after the playing of the game.
Dumb.
Added time, they call it in English. But
I can't. I want to like soccer. I want to like it. I want to be able to pick teams and like it. But one, this clock thing makes me mad. Two, women's soccer, way more exciting than men's soccer. Because men's soccer is a bunch of dudes.
Yes, agreed.
There's a web comic on Facebook called Stably Cap.
Yes.
It's a hockey, like for Stanley Cup, it's a hockey thing. And there, I guess during the last World Cup, it's very poorly drawn comics.
It really is.
They have some soccer player like laying on the ground, like grabbing his knee. And then I think Sidney Crosby walks up to him. I think it's supposed to be Sidney Crosby. And he's like, that's not very sportsmanlike. We're really disappointed in you. I think you need to like reevaluate your life, and just the fact that, you would do this, like, it's really, disrespectful. And then the next frame is just like the soccer guy, and his eyes are really big and he's crying and like shaking a little bit because he got called out. God, it's like the nonsense of the men rolling around.
The diving and the dramatic clutching of body parts. It's not necessary. No. There are tough sports. There is rugby. There's Australian rules. There's American football, where there are real injuries all the time, and nobody reacts like that.
Nope.
They are seriously hurt, those guys and women, and they might be taken out, but they're not writhing in pain the way the soccer players.
I'm not saying, like, if you get hurt, come out of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But the fakeness of it, that, like, I get that sometimes they get hurt, but most of the time, nothing has happened.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, some guy, like, nudged me, and then I'm going to roll around on the ground.
It hurt when I fell down onto the ground. Like, okay, we know. Get back up. It's fine.
It's so bad. So, like, I really can't get past that. But, all right, even if we allow that, like, women's soccer, I can watch more because there's way less of that in women's soccer. But honestly, it's kind of boring. There's a lot of time that there's not much shit happening.
Women's soccer is better.
I agree. Women's soccer is better, but there's still a decent amount of time, even in women's soccer, where there's just like the ball kind of gets kicked around.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
Nobody's doing too much. They're kind of walking around.
It's a lot of strategy.
Kick it down to the other side. There's one person down there.
But I think it's some people. I mean, this may not apply to you, but some people like pitchers battles in baseball too, right?
Very different.
Arguably, no. Is it though?
Profoundly different.
There's no score.
Yeah.
The the achievement is that nobody can score.
Okay, but think of it like that, where it's all penalty kicks in soccer. Somebody could score every single time there's a pitch.
Well,
and then there's like suspense building up. Is he going to get out? Is he going to get on base? The fact that like there's three guys kicking it around like back by their goalie, and then they're like walking it out. Like,
I mean, this is also men's soccer these days, where possession is all and it isn't connected to offense. I'm not totally disagreeing with you.
Listen, I just want to say I've tried very hard with an open mind and an open heart and enthusiasm for finding a new sport to like, because I like sports.
Yeah.
And I can't. It's not that I don't get it. It's that I don't like it.
No, interesting.
It's like there are people who are like, I don't like Brussels sprouts. And you're like, have you ever had a Brussels sprout? And if they're like, no, then you can go, you got to try it.
Sure.
I've tried this Brussels sprout prepared 15 different ways.
Huh.
And the women's is okay. I mean, I'll watch it.
Yeah, women's soccer's great.
But no men's soccer. I cannot. I have tried and I cannot.
The American Soccer League may stop the clock. Like they may actually stop the clock when it goes out.
It's still, it doesn't get. Look, you can get past that. I mean, that and the diving are both problems. But even if you get past that, it's still kind of boring. It's kind of boring.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I grow up on it.
Yeah. No, I understand. I mean, I get why baseball is boring to a lot of people. I only really got into baseball when I learned to keep score.
Yeah.
Like keep a scorecard.
If you can do that, or if you've played it, I think you look at it differently and may notice things besides, just the scoring plays, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that diatribe, maybe we'll talk to y'all this weekend with a No Rules podcast.
Maybe it's no rules, so you can't tell us what to do.
No. And until next week, go get vaccinated if you haven't already. Come on. Don't be an idiot. If you have questions, send me a DM, and I will honestly talk through all kinds of things with you with no judgment and no harshness. I'll explain to you why it's okay.
It doesn't cost nothing.
I'm a scientist. It's free.
Doesn't cost nothing.
It's free, and you won't die, and you won't get long COVID, and your life will be better, and you won't get other people sick.
And you can strut around because you're cool.
And better.
And better.
Yeah. And also, don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
That's always true. Yes.
Bye.
Okay, bye.